The Happy Prince, a heart-touching tale by Oscar Wilde. High above the city, on a tall column, stood the statue of the Happy Prince. He was a glorious sight, gilded all over with thin leaves of pure gold. Two bright sapphires sparkled for his eyes, and a large red ruby glowed on the hilt of his sword. One night, a little swallow flew over the city. His friends had long since flown to Egypt, but he had stayed behind. Now, finally, he too was on his way. As the sun set and the stars came out, the swallow arrived in the city. Where shall I stay tonight? He wondered. Then, spotting the statue of the Happy Prince, he cried, I will rest here. It is high up, and there's plenty of fresh air. He landed gently between the feet of the statue. What a golden bedroom I have, he whispered, settling down. But just as he tucked his head beneath his wing, a large drop of water splashed on him. Startled, he looked up. Strange, the sky is clear, the stars are shining, and yet it's raining. Another drop fell, then a third. Looking up again, the swallow saw, to his amazement, that the statue's eyes were filled with tears. Tears were rolling down the golden cheeks. Who are you? The swallow asked. I am the Happy Prince, replied the statue. Then why are you crying? The prince sighed. When I was alive, I lived in a palace, where sorrow was not allowed to enter. My courtiers called me the Happy Prince, and happy I was. But now that I am dead, they've placed me high above the city, and from here I can see all the suffering and misery below. And though my heart is made of lead, I cannot help but weep. The swallow felt pity, though he was polite enough not to mention the leaden heart aloud. The prince continued, far away, in a small house, I see a seamstress. Her hands are red and pricked from the needle as she embroiders a sateen gown for one of the queen's maids. In a bed in the corner lies her sick son, crying for oranges. But she has nothing to give him, only river water. Swallow, swallow, little swallow, said the prince, will you take the ruby from my sword hilt and give it to her? My feet are fixed here. I cannot move. The swallow hesitated. I am expected in Egypt. My friends are flying by the Nile. But the prince looked so sad, the swallow could not say no. It's cold here, he murmured, but I will stay with you for one night. He plucked the ruby from the sword and flew across the sleeping city. He passed grand buildings, glowing palaces, and quiet cathedrals, until he reached the poor house. Inside, the boy tossed restlessly, while the mother slept in exhaustion. The swallow placed the ruby beside her thimble. Then, gently, he flew around the boy, fanning his forehead with his wings. How cool I feel, the child whispered. I must be getting better. And he fell into peaceful sleep. Returning to the statue, the swallow said, I feel strangely warm, even in the cold. That is because you have done a good deed, said the Happy Prince. The next day, the swallow prepared to leave. Tonight, I fly to Egypt. But as the moon rose, he returned to say goodbye. Swallow, swallow, little swallow, said the prince, will you stay one night more? I cannot, said the swallow. Winter's coming. In Egypt, the sun is warm. But the prince spoke again. Far across the city, I see a young man in a garret. He is trying to finish a play for the theatre director. But he is too cold and too hungry. There is no fire, and he is faint with hunger. I will stay one more night, said the swallow. Shall I take him another ruby? I have no ruby left, said the prince. Only my eyes, two rare sapphires from India. Pluck one, and take it to him. The swallow wept. Dear prince, I cannot do that. Swallow, swallow, little swallow, said the prince, do as I command you. So the swallow plucked out one sapphire eye and flew to the garret. The young man did not hear him enter. When he looked up, he saw the sapphire lying on his withered violets. Believing it a gift from an admirer, his spirits lifted, and he began to write again. The next day, the swallow flew to the harbor and watched the ships. Egypt, at last, he chirped. But again, as the moon rose, he flew back to the prince. I have come to say goodbye. Swallow, swallow, little swallow, said the prince, one last request. In the square below, a little match girl has dropped her matches. She has no shoes, no stockings. Her father will beat her if she comes home with no money. Pluck out my other eye and give it to her. I will stay one more night, said the swallow, but I cannot pluck out your second eye. You will be blind. Swallow, swallow, little swallow, do as I command you. So the swallow plucked out the prince's last eye and slipped the sapphire into the match girl's hand. What a lovely piece of glass, she said, laughing, and ran home. You are blind now, said the swallow. So I will stay with you always. No, said the prince. You must fly to Egypt. I will stay, said the swallow. And he did. The next day, he flew around the city and told the prince what he saw. Beggars by the gates, starving children, and homeless boys sleeping beneath bridges. There is no mystery so great as misery, said the prince. Take the gold leaf from my body, piece by piece, and give it to the poor. And so the swallow stripped away the prince's gold, leaf by leaf, giving it to those in need. The children's cheeks grew rosier, and they laughed and played. We have bread now, they cried. But then came the snow, and after that, the frost. The city turned silver, and the little swallow grew colder each day. Still, he would not leave the prince. He picked up crumbs by the baker's door, trying to survive. At last, he knew his time had come. Weak and trembling, he flew one final time to the prince's shoulder. Goodbye, dear prince, he whispered. Let me kiss you. I'm glad you're going to Egypt at last, said the prince. Kiss me, for I love you. I'm not going to Egypt, said the swallow softly. I'm going to the house of death. Death is the brother of sleep, is he not? He kissed the prince and died. At that very moment, a crack echoed from within the statue. The leaden heart had split in two. The next morning, the mayor walked through the square with his counselors. How shabby the happy prince looks, he exclaimed. No gold, no eyes, no ruby. Little better than a beggar, they agreed. And what's this? A dead bird at his feet? Birds should not be allowed to die here. So they pulled down the statue. He is no longer beautiful, so he is no longer useful, said the art professor. They melted him in a furnace. But the lead heart refused to melt. This broken heart won't melt, said the overseer. Throw it away. And so they tossed the heart onto a dust heap, where the dead swallow also lay. Then God spoke to one of his angels. Bring me the two most precious things in the city. And the angel brought the leaden heart and the dead bird. You have chosen rightly, said God. In my garden of paradise, this little bird shall sing forevermore. And in my city of gold, the happy prince shall praise me. Happy Prince. A timeless story of sacrifice, compassion, and love beyond beauty. If this story touched your heart, like, share, and subscribe for more meaningful tales.